we have this article, we have a very good article that actually relates to counter perspectives. जैसे यूजुअली हम लोग हमेशा सोचते हैं, वी यूजुअली रीड दैट इंडिया नीड्स टू डाइवर्सिफाई इट्स ट्रेड सिस्टम्स विद लाइक लीडिंग टू बायलैटरल ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट्स विद अदर कंट्रीज. और उसी कॉन्टेक्स्ट में इंडिया हैज़ रिसेंटली एंटर्ड इनटू लॉट ऑफ फ्री ट्रेड एग्रीमेंट्स लाइक विद यूएई, विद ऑस्ट्रेलिया, ओमान, यूके एंड ऑल्सो वेरी रिसेंटली न्यूजीलैंड. So the underlying assumption is that if there are more FTAs, this will lead to more export plus global value chain integration, and this will lead to economic growth. This is the underlying idea, is that if there are more FTAs, there will be a more export, plus there will be greater global value chain integration, and ultimately the Indian economy will be growing. So first thing to understand, to start with the basics, what is the meaning of this global value chain integration? So as I have explained this a couple of times in past as well, in my previous sessions as well. So understand this with an example. Example is, suppose this is the phone is iPhone by Apple Incorporated. So this phone is being not built at one place. For example, suppose the battery is coming from Vietnam, the screen is coming from South Korea, right? The other hardwares are coming from China, and all these are being assembled in India, and the software is coming from US, and all these are being assembled in India. So none of these countries are manufacturing a phone at one place. Like, it is not being concentrated at one place. एक जगह पे नहीं बन रहा हो. So all the parts, components are part of something called supply chain, and this supply chain is acting at the global level. That's why it is being called global supply chain. So value chain integration, all the places are providing some sort of value in this production. So that's why this global value chain or global supply chain integration. So India needs to integrate itself in this global supply chain. Why? Because there are lots of MSMEs in India. If the MSMEs are not getting integrated to this global supply chain, they might not grow that prominently. So that is a very important factor. So that's why let's come to our core issue, is that more FTAs, more export, and GVC integration. This is being the major argument, and that's why, like, in recent years, India has been trying to get into a lot of FTAs with other countries. So mostly it is like bilateral mechanism. There is a very good term over here, the shift towards bilateralism. Like the WTO mechanism says that is a multilateral system. All the other countries trying to promote trade among themselves. But the bilateralism says that two countries are getting into a trade setup where they will promote each other's goods and services, like easy export and import, not very costly import or export duties. Right, so this is the overall objective of the FTAs. So this shift towards is bilateralism as a vehicle of market access, so that the countries can get better market access, value chain integration, and economic dynamism. So this is the overall idea, overall concept. Now this article actually identifies that this is not the clear-cut case in case of India particularly. So there are lots of challenges, or you can say issues, that can be highlighted, that can be discussed, that say that FTAs in general are not that much beneficial when it comes to India. For example, the first challenge it identifies, it says is that the FTA's experience in India's FTA's experience with Asian economies has not been favorable. So it gives examples of countries like South Korea, Japan, Singapore, where it is saying that the trade has become increasingly import driven, resulting in widening trade deficit. That means it is like import has risen. Imports जो है वो increase हो गए हैं because of this FTAs. So in terms of ASEAN, India has an FTA with ASEAN. So in case of ASEAN, FTAs are benefiting more the ASEAN member countries or their trade partners because India's imports from those countries has increased. तो अगर import increase हो गया है, that means the trade deficit has also increased. So this is the one of the major issues identified. और यहाँ पे कुछ डाटा दिया गया है. This much data is not needed to be memorized. Overall issue you need to understand that this is an imports have risen. Now the second issue that is being identified over here is that India's share of the import basket among FTA partners has either stagnated or gradually eroded between this year. That means weakening of its export competitiveness post FTA. So the second issue identified over here is export competitiveness has weakened. कमजोर हो गए हैं. Obviously, if we are importing more, then obviously our exports are not rising to that level. So हमारे exports जो है कमजोर हो गए हैं. Then it says another issue, third issue, it says that India's GVC integration related to trade as a percentage of gross trade declined. So India's integration in GVC networks has actually weakened. So the goal of GVC integration has also weakened. To support these arguments, you can look at some of the data that it is providing. So it is saying that itna decrease ho gaya 37%, so it has decreased to 34%. And likewise, you can take up data from here also to support your arguments. But these are the basic three arguments against the blind promotion of FTAs. It says that the market access, a very good concept over here. It is market access based on tariff elimination alone cannot compensate for weak domestic industrial capabilities, logistical efficiencies, and infrastructure and operational constraints. So just because you are trying to get more FTAs, get into more FTAs, so that you feel that if I get more FTA, there will be market access. And if Indian exporters get market access of other countries, their exports can easily rise. So this kind of argument is not sustainable. Why it is not sustainable? Because this market access thing depends on other factors as well. What are the factors? What are the factors of improved export competitiveness? The first factor being discussed over here is that industrial capability. What is the domestic industrial capability of India? Is India able to manufacture the components or products that are of that kind of good quality or are available at that level of cheap rate that it can easily integrate into the global value chain? Is India able to manufacture, for example, take lithium-ion battery so that it can compete out Vietnam? Is India able to manufacture touch screen so that it can be used in electronic devices like phones? Is India able to manufacture microprocessors, semiconductors, which are used in variety of electronic devices? So it is about industrial capacity as well. India needs to improve its industrial capacity. Second one is logistical inefficiencies. So there are logistical issues as well. Logistical issues means how much time you are taking to export a certain kind of product. A product started from the manufacturing unit, from the factory, then it reaches, it takes certain amount of days to reach the port. From the seaport, it gets loaded on the vessel, then it getting transported. How much corruption is involved there, how much time taking is there, what kind of infrastructure like railway connectivity and other things are there, these are also actually impacting. Then it talks about infrastructure that we have already discussed, and that operational constraints, operations and infra, what kind of support, what kind of documentation related stuffs, to what extent these export and manufacturing related activities are easy to do in India. So these factors also determine whether the FTAs will lead to improved market access or not. So to fix all this article gives some way forward. What are the way forwards given over here? The very basic way forward is that India's FTA strategy needs to move beyond the standard argument of market access. Very good question can be framed over here is like India's FTA strategy needs to move beyond the standard argument of market access. Comment, critically analyze. So here you need to understand that FTA is being promoted on the argument that it will improve market access. But this is not that simple. It is not that simple. To improve market access, you need to work on other aspects as well. So what are the other aspects? It should focus on greater interaction with broader industrial policy framework. So there should be the industrial broader policy should be like that. It is promoting manufacturing, promoting industries. Broader policy should also be convenient, should also be conducive, creating conducive environment for the industries, for the manufacturers. Technological upgradation is required. The kind of technology we are using, are we advancing in that way? Then strategic investment, capitals, funds are required. Supply chain realignment. Realignment means supply chain realignment. So consider this way, that there are countries which are not accepting products, be it agricultural products, food items, or manufacturing items from India, even medicines, because they feel that the products manufactured in India do not follow proper hygiene mechanism. So we need to ensure that our supply chain is our manufacturing system and our supply chain system is in such a way that it is aligned with the global standards. Domestic value addition, domestic reforms. So these are certain issues that are being identified, that are being actually suggested, that merely focusing on FTAs won't work. You need to bring certain reforms in domestic levels as well, domestic sector as well, so that your issues regarding industrial capacity, logistics, operationals, infrastructure related issues can be resolved. Then only you can reverse these challenges and your FTA can actually lead to economic growth. So this was the overall concept given in this article. Now we will move to our next article, that is it is about government to sell. So recently this Apple Incorporated, this article is also about today all the three articles relate to Indian economics. This article is about recently government has decided to extend the tax breaks for contract manufacturing. Now this is still it is in a draft proposal, not yet final, but it becomes important. Why? Because we need to understand certain things. What are contract manufacturing, how it is going to impact companies benefit companies like Apple Incorporated or other electronic manufacturers which are trying to make India as their manufacturing base. The core issue here is that India has proposed extending the tax exemption until 2041. So there is some kind of tax exemption given to some companies obviously for the sake of promotion of manufacturing in India, and that tax exemption is being extended beyond. Now, earlier it was available, for example, say till 2026, so it is being extended to 2041, for example, I am saying. Now we need to understand what this is talking all about. So first thing that we understand that if Apple is manufacturing a phone in India, so if it is manufacturing a phone, that phone is not being manufactured completely in India, right? Why? Because Apple designs the product, the design of the product. Apple owns the technology, right? And Apple owns specialized equipments, manufacturing equipments. These are being owned by Apple. Apple owns the design of the phone, owns the technology behind the phone, and also owns the specialized equipments that are being used to manufacture the phones. But Apple is not manufacturing the phone entirely by itself. That leads to the second concept, that is contract manufacturing. Contract manufacturing means Apple has contracted the manufacturing to companies like Foxconn, if you have heard this name. Also, in case of India, it is Tata Electronics also. In India, the Apple phones are being assembled by Tata Electronics, and also Foxconn is also. Then there is a company called Pegatron. So these companies have actually contracted the manufacturing from Apple. They are building Apple phones based on Apple's designs, Apple's technology, and Apple's specialized equipment. So it is like they are setting up the factory. Here the Apple equipment is coming, tools are coming, Apple technology is coming, some Apple engineers are also visiting, and the phone is being manufactured or assembled by the laborers managers from India. Managers are Indians, laborers are Indian, assemblers are Indians, quality checkers are Indians, but ultimately all the things are being supplied by Apple, the core items. So in this entire thing, the problem is that Apple is owning all these aspects, the design, the technology, and specialized equipment. In India, there is something called business connection. In India's tax laws, there is something called business connection. This business connection says that if the company has possessed some of its equipments or tools, technologies, or engineers, or even if it has opened its office in India, and if those things are generating revenue, generating profit for the company, then those will be taxed. Now here comes the problem. Apple felt that if you will start taxing everything coming as a profit from my specialized equipments, just because those were used to build them phones, then I will go into loss. And this was the argument also given, that China was not taxing like that. So for this, the government came up with something called exemption. Government exempted, it introduced a tax exemption in 2026. Exemption was introduced in 2026. It was valid till 2031. So it is being said that up to 2031, these profits coming out of your specialized equipments, designs, or your technology will not be taxed in India. This kind of exemption was given. So fair enough. So production and everything is started to be happening. Now the concern is there is something called tax certainty. Tax certainty means what will happen after 2031 by. So will you start taxing after that? So to ensure tax certainty, the government is trying to extend it to 2041, so that Apple can remain ensured कि चलो भाई अगले 15 साल 20 साल तक अब ज़्यादा कोई दिक्कत नहीं है. So that is like their own benefit. If they feel, and not only their own benefit, it will also improve like Indian companies in terms of their manufacturing. So it is like tax certainty is important because the investments from large companies, it includes factories, machineries, workforce training, logistics, and these investments are made over decades. These are investments are not happening within a gap, within like a span of 1-2 months. These take decades, and if tax rules are uncertain, companies may hesitate to invest. That is why tax certainty is important. So the government is planning to extend this tax break for contract manufacturing. This was the overall idea. We will wait more, like when this draft is finalized, to how it moves ahead. We will look into it in later phases. Now this is the third important article. This article is very generic. If you look at it, you will find yo इसमें तो कुछ नया है ही नहीं. Like same, the LIC is selling some of its shares, so capital will be raised. The same old concepts. But here is the catch. Let me show you what is the catch. So if you read this, at present the government holds 96.5% of a stake in LIC. It had earlier sold 3.5% through an IPO in May 2022. After reading this, you will feel that okay, earlier the government was having 100% of LIC. Fair enough, right? Then in 2022, government sold some of its shares, like for example, it is saying 3.5% as IPO. So government share reduced from 100% to 96.5%. This is the overall idea it is saying. What I am trying to highlight, what is the catch over here is that it says that it was through IPO. What do you know about IPO? IPO in broad concept as an IPO is like new shares are being issued so that the company, the promoters of the company can raise funds, extra funds, and like more people get the share of the company. Consider it this way. Consider that you started a bakery, or you started a shop. Take it simple. You started a shop. You own 50% and your friend also owns 50%. So both of you have started this in partnership. And the overall investment you people made was rupees 100. In 100 rupees mein, you two started a shop. This 100 rupees mein 50% aapke paas hai, 50% your friend owns. Now to expand the business, you need some more money. So there are multiple options how you can get the money. For example, the one option is one of the friends who is like, suppose the friend is A, this friend out of his 50 rupees, 50% shares, he sells 10% of the shares to some other person, right? So in this case, what is happening? That this person is selling his or her own share and the money will flow, right? And the money will flow and the capital will be generated. This kind of thing is called offer for sale. That means no new shares are being created. Share still remains 50 plus 50. The only issue is that one of your friends broke it to 40 plus 10 and the second friend still holds 50. So the overall share still remains 100%. There is another case. Another case is that you go to the local market and you, for example, you go to the share market and you say that, see, we have a very good shop. We want to increase the share. You say that we are adding 50 more shares and new investors will come, right? They will pay you 50 rupees. So now the overall market value, capital of your shop becomes 150. So this is called IPO, or this is called fresh issue, not IPO. What is fresh issue? That new shares are being issued. New shares are being issued. That means this 50-50 remains intact of both the partners and additional 50 is being added, and new people are coming up with the money. So this overall 100 becomes 100 plus 50. This is what I am talking about. Both of these come under IPO. ये दोनों IPO के पार्ट होते हैं. Whether you are taking it as offer for sale or whether you are it is a fresh issue, both are initial public offering. Initial public offering IPO. So the offer of sale, one of the shareholders is diluting his or her shares for the sake of money. In fresh issue, more shares are being generated or created so that additional money can also flow, and this additional money improves the overall valuation also of the company. So this is the very basic core difference. This concept will need a more detailed video that I can create later if you need so. So this IPO, the IPO that is being referred over here is, this was actually offer for sale. So IPO has two parts. One is offer for sale, one is fresh issue. So the IPO of LIC in 2022 was an offer for sale. So the government, it is saying it had earlier sold. That is the key here. That government had earlier sold 3.5% of its shares. It is not saying that new shares have been raised, fresh issues have been created. It is not saying like that. It is saying that government had sold its shares earlier. So it was an offer for sale. This basic nuance you need to understand. Then another concept that comes is that is called, it is called FPO. FPO means once a company is, one more thing you need to understand, that all these can be done for listing of the company in a stock market. So after this additional money is coming, shareholders other than the original promoters are coming up. So that means the company is becoming public, and these other promoters or everyone can easily sell their shares in the market as and when they wish. Now suppose beyond this the company needs more money, that it needs to increase it further 50, then it won't be called FPO, it won't be called IPO, it will be called FPO. So FPO is, this is initial, right? This is initial. So this is something you need to understand. This was the core idea that I wanted to tell you with respect to this article. And it further states that now the government is planning to sell 6.5% stake in LIC again through OFS. So earlier it sold 3.5%. Now it is planning to sell more, another 6.5%. So the overall become 10%. Why it is trying to say 10%? Because RBI, SEBI, Securities and Exchange Board of India, has given LIC time till May 2027 to achieve minimum 10% public shareholding. That means at least 10% of the shares of LIC should be held by the public beyond the government. So the initially LIC was having total 100% government stake. SEBI said that bring it to at least 90%, and the remaining 10% should go to the public, because your company is now listed in the stock market. So 10% is public, the government has only, with public only 3.5%. So the government is coming up with another 6.5% stake sale through OFS. These are the two basic concepts. Now, whatever money is coming with this sale of this, LIC is a public company, a PSU, you take it in simple way. So whatever money is being created, generated or aggregated by the sale of stakes, that will be considered as disinvestment, right? Like government is disinvesting, so this money will go to the government coffers. So it is saying that it will fetch about 31,000 crore to the disinvestment kitty. So if this 6.5% materializes, then nearly 31,000 crore will go to the government kitty. A very good important fact over here is that there is a department called Department of Investment and Public Asset Management, DIPAM. This DIPAM is the department that deals or handles the policy related issues of PSU's disinvestment. This you need to understand. One more core concept that we need to understand over here is floor price and discount. What it is? So after this OFS happened in 2022, since then until now, the government, the LIC's shares were trading at around 424 rupees approx in the share market. Means एक शेयर का जो दाम है अभी nearly 424 rupees per शेयर LIC. एक शेयर का दाम तकरीबन 424 रुपये, 424 rupees. The government seeks to initiate another OFS, and it says that this OFS will be priced at the bare minimum, that is 382. So 484 minus 382. So if you calculate it, it will come to as 102. Right? So it is saying that it will be offered at a discount. Not 102, it will be, if you reduce 424, I committed a mistake. So 424 minus 382. So it comes to be 2 and it comes to be 4. So this is a discount of nearly 42 rupees. Currently this share price is trading at 424 rupees. Government is planning to do another OFS at 382 rupees per share. So there is a price difference of nearly 42 rupees. This 42 rupees is nearly 10% of 484 है ना. इसका 10% होगा ना, 424 का 10% 42 होता है, और इसमें से 10% हम लेस कर देंगे तो 382 आता है. So this is like 10% discount. So the floor price, that is 382, is at 10% discount of the recent share price of the company. So this also you need to understand what is this discount and why, what it is all about. So this was the overall idea, overall concept being provided over here. Is very important overall objective that you need to understand is it is all about disinvestment. How government can disinvest its PSUs, its companies, and how it can get more funds to its kitty for like other developmental processes. And it also promotes one more thing, is that when a good financially sound or strongly better performing public sector company divests, opens up to the public, then whosoever the public is investing, that those people will also stand to benefit in terms of dividends and profits. So these are some basic concepts related to this, and these three articles, all the three articles were from